Welcome, dear friends. In today's podcast, we honor the feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe with reflections drawn from Meditation 14, The Virgin of the Incarnation, from the spiritual classic Divine Intimacy, Meditations on the Interior Life for Every Day of the Liturgical Year by Father Gabriel of St. Mary Magdalen, O.C.D. For more Carmelite resources, visit the General Curia of the Teresian Carmel at discalcedcarmelite.com. Now let us begin our journey into Father Gabriel's profound spiritual insights.
Welcome back. We're continuing our journey through divine intimacy, drawing inspiration from its guidance as we navigate the liturgical year. Today we're exploring the Virgin of the Incarnation. It's a chapter filled with meaning for those seeking deeper union with God, especially as we approach Christmas.
Yes, and it's so interesting how Father Gabriel uses Mary's example, especially during those months between the Annunciation and the Nativity, as a guide for us on our own spiritual journeys. A time of such grace, yet also hiddenness and profound inner transformation.
The chapter begins with this powerful quote from Blessed Elizabeth of the Trinity. She says, "It seems to me that Our Lady's attitude during the months is the model for interior souls, for those whom God has chosen to live within in the depths of the unfathomable abyss." Really makes you think about how cultivating a deep inner life isn't about extraordinary circumstances, but fostering that connection with God in our everyday lives.
Exactly. And when you consider that the angel Gabriel finds Mary in solitude, in her home, clearly in prayer and recollection, it really highlights the importance of making space for quiet contemplation, even amidst our busy lives. There are so many things pulling us in different directions all the time. But Mary reminds us that union with God begins in the silence of our hearts. That's where we can truly hear his voice.
And Mary's response to the Annunciation is so powerful. Not hesitant at all. Her Magnificat, my soul magnifies the Lord, just bursts forth with this humble yet profound joy. It's a good reminder that prayer isn't meant to be a dry duty, but rather a wellspring of joy that flows from a heart united with God.
And her joy wasn't just superficial. It came from a place of deep understanding. The magnitude of what was happening within her. Father Gabriel uses the writings of St. Albert the Great to explain this, how God is present in all things but at different levels. So in nature, he's present through his power and essence. And then in those who are just, he's present through grace. But within Mary, through the Incarnation, God was physically present in a way that was completely unique.
It's just awe-inspiring to think about Mary carrying the Son of God within her and yet living so simply, keeping this extraordinary mystery hidden, pondering it all in her heart. She embodies this incredible balance, deep interior awareness alongside this seemingly ordinary life.
Yes, that balance is so important for us to consider in our own lives. How can we, like Mary, cultivate that interior richness? That constant awareness of God's presence and still engage in our everyday lives. It's not about withdrawing from the world, but bringing that contemplative spirit into everything we do. And Blessed Elizabeth of the Trinity really stresses this. She talks about Mary's perfect understanding of the gift of God given through the Incarnation. Yeah. She says that no other created being has ever fully grasped this gift as Mary did.
And that understanding came directly from her fiat, her "let it be done to me," this humble surrender to God's will. It opened the way for the greatest miracle in human history. It's a reminder for us to reflect on our own willingness, to embrace God's plans for our lives even when we don't fully understand them. And Father Gabriel uses such powerful imagery. He describes Mary as the first temple of the Blessed Trinity and the first tabernacle of his sacred humanity.
It's such a beautiful way to understand her role, and it invites us to think about our own souls as potential dwelling places for God. If Mary, in her humility, could become the dwelling place of God, then surely our hearts too can become sanctuaries where he can reside. It's about creating that interior space, that silence and openness to his presence.
And even while carrying this immense spiritual reality within her, Mary still went out to visit Elizabeth, really embodying the truth that contemplation doesn't have to mean isolation. We can be in the world active in our lives while staying deeply connected to God.
Yes. Mary shows us that a contemplative life, one directed towards the eternal praise of God, retains its unity even amidst outward activity. It's not about compartmentalizing our lives, but about bringing that unity of intention, that awareness of God's presence into everything we do.
Such a beautiful concept, bringing unity to all our actions throughout the day. Mary pondering the mysteries of God in the silence of her heart. Such a powerful image. But how do we, in our busy and sometimes chaotic lives, actually cultivate that same unity? How do we make our everyday actions a form of prayer? It's definitely a challenge.
It is a challenge, but we don't have to figure it out on our own. Blessed Elizabeth of the Trinity speaks so eloquently about Mary's humility and how it was rooted in her selflessness. Her entire life she lived saying, "Behold, I am the handmaid of the Lord." That spirit of surrender, offering ourselves completely to God's will, that's at the heart of true contemplation.
That idea of selflessness, it's so profound. Makes me think about Mary's Magnificat again, that song of praise that flowed from her deep awareness of God's blessings.
He that is mighty has done great things to me, she proclaims. It seems like true joy, true understanding comes from recognizing God's work in our lives, even amidst the ordinary. It certainly does, and Father Gabriel, building on these reflections, encourages us to turn to Mary for guidance in our own spiritual journeys. Recognizing that we need her help to cultivate a deeper relationship with God. Shall we explore what he suggests?
Yes, let's. I think it will be incredibly helpful for our listeners as we all strive to grow in divine intimacy.
He encourages us to echo Mary's beautiful prayer. "O my mother, teach me the secret of your interior life. Teach me to live recollected with God present in my soul. Teach me your silence. Communicate to me your spirit of adoration," reminding us that we can turn to her for guidance in creating a space of silence and prayer in our own hearts. It's comforting. We're not alone on this path. Mary's intercession, her maternal care is always available to us.
He paints this beautiful picture saying, "Close to you, in your school, I too wish to be the little temple of the Trinity. Help me to detach myself from all distractions and live in silent, loving adoration of the Trinity in the innermost depths of my soul. Becoming a dwelling place for God, allowing his presence to just permeate every aspect of our being. It all starts with creating that inner sanctuary, that space of silence and prayer where we can truly encounter him."
Then Father Gabriel brings in some reflections from St. Catherine of Siena. She writes, "O Mary, Temple of the Trinity, Mary, you bore the divine fire. Mother of mercy, from you has blossomed forth the fruit of life, Jesus. O Mother, you are that new plant from which we have the fragrant flower, the Word, the only begotten Son of God." It's like she's painting this vivid picture of the Incarnation, highlighting Mary's role as the vessel of God's love.
She saw this incredible fusion of the divine and the human in Mary, like a living testament to the power of God's grace. It's a powerful reminder that God desires to make our hearts his home too.
And it's in Mary's profound humility that we see how this is possible. Blessed Elizabeth of the Trinity reflects on this, saying, "O Mary, nearer than all to Jesus Christ, although at a distance that is infinite, you are the great praise of glory of the Blessed Trinity. You are always holy, unspotted, blameless in the sight of the thrice holy God."
Blessed Elizabeth really emphasizes the simplicity and hiddenness of Mary's interior life, writing that your soul is so simple, its movements are so deeply hidden that we cannot detect them. True holiness isn't about outward appearances, but a deep interior transformation.
She summarizes Mary's life so well when she says, "Your whole life may be summed up in these words from the Gospel. His mother kept all these words in her heart." Mary pondering the mysteries of God in the silence of her heart.
Even while she carried this immense spiritual reality within her, Mary still went out to visit Elizabeth. It reminds us that contemplation doesn't mean we have to isolate ourselves. We can be active in our lives, engaged in the world, while staying connected to God.
Blessed Elizabeth highlights this beautifully when she writes, "When I read in the Gospel that you went into the hill country with haste into a city of Judah to perform an act of charity for your cousin Elizabeth, I picture you as you pass by, beautiful, serene, majestic, absorbed in communion with the Word of God within you."
It's a beautiful illustration of how contemplation and action can coexist and even enrich one another.
Blessed Elizabeth also focuses on how Mary's prayer was always rooted in humble surrender to God's will. She writes, "Like him, your prayer was always, 'Behold, here I am, who, the handmaid of the Lord, the last of his creatures, you, his mother.' Your humility was so genuine because you were always forgetful of self, free from self. Her selflessness was the key to her profound humility."
And it's from this place of humility that Mary's Magnificat flows, that beautiful song of praise that emerged from her deep understanding of God's blessings. Therefore you could sing, "Behold, from henceforth all generations shall call me blessed, because he that is mighty has done great things to me."
A reminder that true joy stems from recognizing and appreciating God's work in our lives. And as we move into the colloquy section, Father Gabriel draws on all of these reflections and encourages us to contemplate Mary adoring the great mystery unfolding within her. He calls her the first temple of the Blessed Trinity, the first adorer of the incarnate Word, and the first tabernacle of his sacred humanity. Powerful images that really underscore Mary's unique role in salvation history.
It's truly breathtaking to contemplate Mary in all her humility, becoming the dwelling place of God. And Father Gabriel reminds us that these images aren't just about Mary. They're an invitation for each of us to become a little temple of the Trinity, to learn from her example and cultivate an interior life of silence, adoration, and recollection.
He encourages us to consider how we too can become dwelling places for God, allowing His presence to transform us from within.
It's a beautiful challenge. But how do we practically go about doing this amidst the demands of our daily lives?
Yeah.
It is a beautiful challenge, and it's encouraging how Father Gabriel really offers some practical guidance here. It's not just presenting these lofty ideals, but actually giving us concrete steps for how we can integrate them into our everyday lives.
Yes, and he highlights a beautiful reflection from St. Catherine of Siena. She said, O Mary, fiery chariot, you bore a hidden fire concealed beneath the ashes of your humanity. If I look at you, O Mary, I see that the hand of the Holy Spirit has inscribed the Trinity in you by forming within you the incarnate Word, the only Son of God. She recognized that in Mary, the Word truly became flesh, dwelling among us.
Her reflection really emphasizes the incredible reality of the Incarnation and points to that profound mystery of God dwelling within us.
And Father Gabriel, he picks up on this theme as he guides us towards practical application. He encourages us to look to Mary as our model and echo her prayer, to say, "Oh, my mother, teach me the secret of your interior life. Teach me to live recollected with God present in my soul. Teach me your silence. Communicate to me your spirit of adoration." To become her students, in a sense, learning from her example of prayer, recollection, and union with God.
He reminds us that we're not alone in this pursuit. We have Mary's intercession, her maternal care to guide and support us, and there's such tenderness in his words as he continues. Close to you in your school, I too wish to be the little temple of the Trinity. Help me to detach myself from all distractions and live in silent, loving adoration of the Trinity in the innermost depths of my soul.
It's a heartfelt plea for Mary's intercession, a desire to cultivate that dwelling place for the Trinity within our own hearts.
As we conclude our reflection on the Virgin of the Incarnation, maybe we can each consider one specific way to practice recollection in our own lives. Maybe it's finding those 5 minutes each day for silent prayer, or intentionally bringing a greater awareness of God's presence into our everyday activities.
Perhaps practicing the presence of God. Just pausing throughout the day, taking a deep breath, reconnecting with that still, quiet place within, remembering that God dwells within us.
And as we go about our days, let's remember that Mary is always there, ready to help us. Let's ask for her intercession, her guidance, as we strive to follow her example and grow in intimacy with God. Thank you for joining us on this journey into divine intimacy. May God bless you and keep you close to His Sacred Heart.
Thank you so much for listening, praying, and being part of this journey. I'd love to hear from you, what you enjoyed, what you'd like to hear in the future, or just your thoughts. Your feedback means so much. Until next time, may God bless us and keep us close to His heart. Take care and see you soon.